Hello, and welcome to our CEO series of the Full Funnel B2B Marketing podcast. Our guest today is Maarten Verwaest, who is the founder and the CEO of Limecraft. Limecraft offers turnkey workflows for video production, helping media professionals unlock creativity through cloud-based collaboration and save time with task-oriented automation. What I found very interesting when I first met Maarten, when we spoke, was their exceptional growth. Even during this difficult year, they've been growing steadily by 10% each month. So 10% by each month over the last year and a half. I'm very excited to have you here as a guest, Maarten. Welcome.
It's my pleasure. You've got it.
Thank you. So what we are aiming to do in this podcast is to get perspective, in this series that we have also, of course, interviews with marketing experts, but we are really aiming here to get the perspective of B2B executives, CEOs like yourself, about marketing and sales. So I wonder, like from a perspective of a B2B CEO of a company like yours, what do you expect good marketing to help you with?
Well, there is the strategy and there is the execution. Obviously, the marketing professional will fuel the sales funnel, will feed the sales funnel, whereas we in a B2B context, we were doing marketing in a very traditional way until 2 years ago. So as you explained, we're active in the audiovisual sector. Our customers are media professionals, and we were very present on film festivals and trade shows in our area. Those fueled the funnel by 200, 250 viable projects per year. And now the role of marketing is to overtake that, to put something in place of a traditional trade show, which is a bit of a mind switch, but we will have to do it anyhow. And probably it's going to be a lot more scalable than outbound marketing on trade shows.
Mm-hmm. And so you're now going to invest, if I understood correctly, to, like you say, I like this, the way that you describe it, to replace the trade show, the more classical way of selling, which is now unfortunately became difficult. You're investing in more inbound marketing. And
Correct.
what do you think, what do you expect it to do for you? What do you think, why do you think this will work? Like you said, that you expect it to even be more scalable. What are your expectations from inbound marketing?
Well, in order to explain what it needs to do, we should take just one step back. In a modern software as a service world, you're not selling software anymore at CapEx tickets of 1 million, 2 million, etc. This is old style software where you could afford a traditional sales executive going on the road, meeting one, at best 2 customers per day. Nowadays, software as a service is more scalable, and it allows an average entry selling point of 3,000-4,000 euro per month, which is actually an extremely difficult price point. It's much too expensive to use your customer's credit card for billing, and it's actually too little to spend to send your field sales on the road. So inbound marketing is the interface between your pool of prospects and then the conventional sales that will take over. Inbound marketing is a highly automated, using artificial intelligence type of service, reaching out semi-automatically to prospects, getting back identified and qualified projects that you can then take to a next step by sales development and then the account executive, etc., etc. So the marketing service, let's call it that way, is the essential step to identify those prospects that will lead to a viable project.
Okay, makes sense. So basically, in a way, if I understand your vision on it, it's also going to help you, let's say, warm up those prospects for sales, make them aware of the services. And this is often something that we hear that a lot of B2B sales and marketing professionals are struggling with, is how do we want, especially if you're talking about enterprise customers, like you mentioned, like high ticket sales. But unfortunately, in SaaS, you don't get all the money up front. But it's still like for them, let's say it's a complex decision to make. So what do you think works best in terms of like warming customers up and preparing them for then, like you said, sales development?
I'll first tell you what not works.
Okay.
Like every other software as a service company, we make available trials.
Yes.
Now, when you have a complex product, a trial, an unsupervised trial, can be very counterproductive, can be very damaging for your image, because what actually happens is a potentially interested user, customer, will sign up and will be seeing an empty page, which is very disturbing, very annoying. So they've read all about complex workflows and very high degrees of automation and applications of artificial intelligence, all music to their ears, and then they log in and there's just an empty sheet of an empty library, which is not representative at all. So we do offer a trial with the sole purpose, it's like clickbait. And there is this a sales development representative looking at the incoming signups of trial accounts, and it is his target and challenge to pick up the phone 15 minutes after someone signed up, making sure we are on speaking terms. So I'm not sure whether our colleagues would label that as marketing or not. What I do know is that marketing, sales development, and the account executive, it's like three parts of a streamlined, well-running machine, and they need to be totally in sync. Marketing, perhaps creating the awareness, and then your first gateway taking over, making sure you're on speaking terms and that you can help them, support them, answering any questions they may have. And as a matter of fact, then there is a sales execution and a boarding process. And I do consider the customer service afterwards also a critically important aspect of your whole marketing picture you're trying to paint.
I think you nailed it. I think you really nailed it. I think this is a big lesson for a lot of B2B executives to really look at the marketing and sales and even client success afterwards as actually different parts of the same puzzle. And like you say, working in sync. This is what we call full funnel marketing. I think you nailed it. Thank you so much.
Sure. And I can put some numbers on it if I may.
Please.
So we see our particular business model is represented by three acquisition loops. First of all, we sign up 1, 2, sometimes 3 larger accounts per month. Then a large account, take Warner Brothers, for example, will have a spontaneous growth of 30% per year, which don't require sales, by the way. It does require customer support and proactive informing the customer about what's going on. And then there is a third one. It's a bit awkward timing, but it's the viral aspect. So we see more and more freelance professionals going from the BBC to October Films to Emporium Productions, and some of the super spreaders are personally responsible for signing up to 4 customers per year.
Amazing.
That's the third acquisition loop. And if you look at our financial metrics, this is a very interesting picture. The number of customers on a timeline goes up slowly. It's almost linear. Admitted, the more we invest in sales and marketing, the faster that will grow, but that's proportional. But the other growth drivers, revenue drivers, are like built in the model. The spontaneous growth per strategic account directly kicks in, but is the double acceleration of the monthly recurring revenue. And then after 12 months, if we are successful and slightly overperformed from a functional and customer service point of view, the third loop comes into play. And so that's the explanation of the 10% per month growth without spending crazy amounts of money. And so the ratios are very well balanced. It's really sustainable what we built.
So I love this, the concept of the 3 growth loops, the 3 revenue acceleration loops. And I think a lot of companies don't invest enough in that third loop, which is basically making sure that you exceed the customer expectations so that they will grow and that you will grow your basically lifetime value and that you will create ambassadors, which is, I mean, so much easier, of course, to close a deal when somebody comes in warm like that than when you have to always just work on acquisition of people who don't yet know, like, and trust you. I love it. You nailed it. So if you have that kind of vision, I wonder, like, what are your key metrics so to measure this, let's say, 3 loop growth process?
I've touched some of them. Obviously, prior to measuring the new customers which are signed up, we're really carefully measuring and probing the pipeline which is up front and which will eventually lead to new customers. And then there is the customer happiness engagement. So we take a lot of care about the activity, monthly active users versus registered users. And we have a quite high activity percentage. So by now we crossed 10,000 named users. It's only professionals, a few months ago, and still the activity percentage is consistently above 25% on a monthly basis. That means we know for sure that for the coming 24 months, the retention rate will be very high. So what you hear me saying, Vlad, is that rather than measuring the retention rate after the facts, you should take care that you create the conditions and that a high retention rate is just a logical consequence of a properly organized service delivery.
Love it.
And by the way, I do think the same holds for sales targets. In our company, we are fiercely against undocumented sales targets. I think this is a bit typical for American style, Anglo-Saxon style companies to say, you sales, you will hit 1 million in new recurring revenue this year. It creates an incredibly unhealthy competition between your different sales channels. It's very counterproductive. We think that the responsibility in the first place is in the management team that has to hire motivated salespeople. That's one. And then if the breeding ground is okay, they will deliver. They wouldn't be a salesperson if they were not a bit competitive in one way or another. So if you create the sales collateral and the marketing materials, if the product market fit is proven, if you give them reference customers to work with, and if they have a proper demo in their backpack, it will work out fine, and there is no need to tease them or to make sure they hit a particular sales target.
So if I understand well, you're really focusing on creating the environment, what they sometimes call like sales enablement, with
Absolutely.
With the right support, right materials, etc. And what do you think are the key kind of materials that maybe the marketing, if that's the function, that's how we call it, should then create for sales to be successful?
Looking back, there is only one which is an order of magnitude more important than all the rest. All the rest is ersatz. There's just one, and it's reference customers. And as a founder, on a region per region basis, you need to go in there, close the first 2-3 landmark deals, and then you're good to go. All the rest is a waste of time. We've been wondering sometimes if we had to do press releases with our intentions or what we were going to develop, etc., etc. Reference customers, and that's a lesson we learned from Mr. Geoffrey Moore. He explains very well in Crossing the Chasm, which is a must-read for every software as a service and probably tech founder. It is critical to first identify the early adopters. You have to take care because these are nasty animals to domesticate. They will be very demanding. There will be discussions on intellectual property because they will be financing a product which is yet to be developed. But they don't mind if a product is only finished for the 80% and documentation is not ready. And then there is a catch between your first contracts with early adopters and your sales scale out and ramp up into the majority, the mainstream majority of customers. There is one caveat, there is one catch, that not all mainstream customers accept the early adopter as a proper reference. So there, I think, as a founder, the first product manager, you have to make yourself a little bit bigger than you actually are when crossing the chasm from working with early adopters to the mainstream majority. So rather than to spend a lot of time and speaking with prospects that will not buy, you will identify those early adopters, or you have to identify them as soon as possible. Make sure you have a deal, make them sign in the agreement that they will commit to be published as a reference customer. And then it is critical for a marketing professional to take that information and to turn that into a credible reference case.
Awesome, I love it. So the big lesson there is really knowing who you target. And I know that you're already over the chasm, and that's something that we also see in your growth figures. But do you still believe that knowing who your best customers are and how to target them, well, not how to target, I mean, who your best customers are, so you don't waste on, like you said, time on those who will not buy, is a critical for success?
Absolutely. And your question is probably how to detect. Well, let's oversimplify this prospect detector a little bit. There is two types of prospects. There is the time wasters and there is the buyers. The time wasters have a lot of time for coffee and conversations because they're not on a project. They're not on a mission to spend money. They have a lot of time for talking, and they will keep on talking and make you walk and dance. The awkward discovery was that those guys that are going to buy your product, they've gotten a target from their manager to spend the budget, and they're on a project and they have little time. So they will, first of all, not pick up your calls. They will not respond to your emails. On an average, we need 12 touch points with a customer that eventually bought our product. 12. That's frustrating. Or, I mean, you have to be a little bit like a marathon runner and not spend, you should not be bothered by the emotions that go along. Just keep on knocking the door because the ones that don't seem to have time to listen to your story, those are the ones that are likely to buy your product afterwards.
I love it. And so, given this very special view of sales and marketing, these three growth loops, and how do you? What is your vision on the best, let's say, sales and marketing team structure?
There is two phases in development of the company, and in the beginning, let's say, until the point where a startup becomes a scale-up, it will be, can I say rather unstructured? No, entrepreneurial sales. There is a reactive approach, very agile. You adapt, which is not necessarily a problem as long as the pitch is not reproducible. You shouldn't overstructure your sales before you know what to structure. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
At the point you start discovering what are the keywords that resonate, where your pricing becomes stable, then you need to streamline the sales operations, because you can't scale out a software as a service company only using highly ranked senior sales that have a cost of 16K per month. That's not how it works. So that's the point where you need to consider specializing the roles. And apart from the marketing executives, there will be a first intake, which usually called sales development representative, who's responsible for closing low touch deals or escalating to the senior account executive. And then I think possibly even more important is the role of the customer service, which what we often see even in big software as a service operations, these are sometimes junior profiles. It's a shame, because that person will be responsible for the sustainability of the sustainable growth afterwards, after the contract has been signed. So in my opinion, this should be almost the most senior profile.
I love how you explain also, like there is different in the different phases. First, you actually need to figure out what the process is during the entrepreneurial sales phase before you can really put a team around it. And I love also the second point that you're making. I think I work with also an enterprise, let's say B2B software company, and they've put a lot of priority in customer success. That's where they hire their best people. And like you say, it makes so much sense. Now, maybe to kind of like, let's try to turn the tables around. I would really like to get your perspective. Let's say, because you're of course selling your software, but you're also a buyer of services and products. Some products that maybe, are more complex or cost more. How would you say, how does your decision-making process look like?
Decision-making process. Time is our most precious good. So I take pride in wasting as little time as possible for both sides of the table. And I'm when we need to procure a certain service, I tend to be brutally honest from the first conversation. It just works best. We do business in several countries, mostly in Europe. We're now expanding into APAC and US region. And credits to Norwegian people, whom are among the kindest people to do business with. That's not saying it's always comfortable, but with a Norwegian team, you will know at the first meeting whether you're going to close a deal or not. These people are extremely transparent. There is no politics involved, and it's just a very efficient way of collaborating. And I think, and we just try to do the same.
And what are some of the things that you find important, like when you're evaluating, let's say, a service provider or a vendor of a product? What are some of the key things that you pay attention to?
Well, of course, transparent pricing. The pricing should be simple, easy to understand, and I'm quite allergic to hidden cost, if those may apply. I mean, that's just not a fair game when you have a discussion about. I sometimes ask the question, you don't need to explain me in detail what your pricing looks like, but could you please give me at least a sense on how the commercial dimensions are structured? And that gives you a sense. If the other side of the table says that's something I need to look up, or I'll take that along and I'll come back to you with a proposal, then you know there is a problem.
Okay, that's good to know for people to.
Also from let's say our side of the table, it's a lesson we had to learn. In traditional sales, let's say 10 years ago, you could afford such an answer. Now, when a prospect approaches us, due to the inbound marketing, which is quite good, a user should be well prepared prior to a first face-to-face or a virtual conversation like this. And, you know, apart from the homepage, the pricing page on our website is by far the most visited of all the pages on our website. And I think this is the case for many software as a service operations. People expect the pricing dimensions to be clearly available and explained on the website. If not, there is a problem.
And do you feel this is like a matter of trust as well, that if somebody like is not transparent, it also can indicate some...
I haven't thought about it that way, but I think you're probably right. Yeah, it's a matter of trust. Dare to be transparent on your commercials as well.
And so if you're still like thinking about you as a buyer, how would you like, what are the preferred ways for you to be approached or to learn about new products or services that you're maybe at that time interested in buying?
Preferred way of approaching, can I flip that? What I completely dislike and hate is unsolicited cold calls. It's a no-go, and we have a game in the office, so everybody is entitled to pick up the phone, and we try to cut such conversations to a minimum. And my personal record is 22 seconds. Having a decent conversation, so not just bluntly cutting the line. But this is such a waste of time. Yeah,
I guess the same goes for cold emails or cold LinkedIn messages.
You just don't. It's so easy. I mean, and it's worth the investment if you tell your sales development team to spend no more than 15 minutes of research, and then send a gentle, short, subtly personalized email, your chances of success will be 10 times, if not much more higher to have a response than a mass mail. It's
I love it. Yeah. No, I love it. That's absolutely true. This is something that we see as well. The better you can understand, the more they can personalize, the better the response will be. That's absolutely true.
Yeah. And this fits in the bigger picture. When we approach our customers, this is a direct relationship. We are not really comfortable with working via system integrators and partners and channels, etc., etc. Our product is a complex product. We do for our customers what probably a good comparison is probably what SAP did for ERP processes. That's what the type of complexity which we are delivering for our customers. So that's not something you sell on the back of an envelope. And it's even very difficult to have that sale outsourced via channels. So we learned the hard way that it is more efficient to go directly. And it has the advantage that we are obviously very knowledgeable. And when in one time 2 years ago, one of our first French customers in Paris, very intelligent lady, CEO of the company. So she said somewhere in August, I'm going to send you an RFP, Maarten, as promised, but I'm a bit in a hurry because the budgets need to be spent before the end of the year and we still need to make an evaluation. Can you please return me your full proposal in 2 weeks' time? I said, you will have it by the end of next week. And 2 business days later, including the weekend, frankly speaking, she had a full proposal and she was just baffled. She called me up. She's very intelligent. So she was able to process the content in like half an hour. And she said, Maarten, how did you do it? This is almost impossible. Understanding our business and writing up a 60-page full proposal in a couple of days. Said, that's how we work. We want to be as close as possible to you as a customer, listening better than the competition, delivering a better proposal, and eventually delivering a better product than the competition. That's how we're going to win.
I love it. So actually, it's kind of a theme that I hear you are is coming back in different aspects, is to exceed the expectations, to do it better than I expected, both after you deliver the products, but even during sales, making a proposal.
Vlad, we are in competition with incumbent software suppliers with a market capitalization of 1 billion or more, with a massive marketing machine. And they can sell any bullshit they want. They can sell any unfinished products full of bugs. One of our competitors with whom we integrate with in some cases. So we filed a couple of bugs 12 months ago. Can you imagine these are still unresolved? When a Limecraft customer files a bug, chances are it's resolved and a new version is released at runtime within 3 or 4 hours. That's the type of user experience customers expect today from their suppliers. And companies that not adapt to such a logic will go bankrupt. So it's going to be extremely interesting the coming months, at least in software for media and entertainment, what's going to happen there.
I love it. So maybe this is also something where we can to wrap up with. I love that you nailed the topic today. Maybe you can share with us what are your strategic goals for, let's say, 2020 or the next year, coming year.
Well, 2020 is for us is done. Our
It's
fiscal
done.
year ends in September. It was we did our platform revenue times 2.5. So that's well done. Great team. And now for us, it's time to scale out and to show that the metrics will remain scalable. So for the coming 12 and 24 months, we're decently financed. We are now going to prove that the sporty growth rate of 10% or more per month, that it is sustainable when we grow the company. It's doubling every 8 months. Huh? And we're going to make sure we can keep on doing that.
Awesome. Love it. I think this is a very good way to end. Thank you very much again, Maarten. This was such a great talk. Thanks for coming and sharing your experience.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.